Unless you've been hiding in the warp, you've probably seen that the Emperor's Children have finally arrived with a cool new box set. They've got a shiny new codex, some pretty cards, and a whole bunch of awesome models. But who are they? What's their story? You came to the right place. I tried to make that cool and failed. Anyway, side note, this video is aimed at people who are like new to Warhammer lore, so I am going to try and make it as easy to follow as possible. Hopefully, off to a great start, just so you don't bolt out of here, like that Forrest Gump gif where he's like sprinting through the gates. And now I'm impersonating Techno Viking. Wow. Techno Viking, what a throwback. Anyway, it's going to be in 2 parts. Sorry, not sorry, I know that's annoying. But I'm annoying. Hey, anyway, way back in Warhammer history, just before the galaxy battles and all that kind of stuff, we have something called the Unification Wars. Now, this is where the Emperor of Mankind, he's fighting to unite all of the warring kingdoms and factions on Terra. Terra is just a future version of Earth. It's what it's referred to, it's what it's known as, so just don't argue with me. One of the areas involved in this was Europa, and that's important. So during these wars, the Emperor, he defeated a bunch of powerful noble families with his super soldiers. These were called Thunder Warriors. I don't know why I didn't just tell you that. They're not called super soldiers, they just are super soldiers. Where am I going with this? I don't know. Let me carry on. As a kind of peace offering, after their defeat, some of these noble houses, they gave their best young warriors to the Emperor as a thank you and as a please don't come for us again, we're really sorry. And these recruits, they became part of what was then called the Third Legion. Other noble families across Terra, they soon did the same, sending their children to fight for the Emperor. It was great. And that's how the Third Legion got the name, the Emperor's Children. And they were seen as like the chosen of the Emperor. And then later, when their Primarch Fulgrim was found, it all became official and it was like happy families. One thing that made sort of the early Emperor's Children stand out was how they actually liked working with regular human soldiers of the Imperial Army during the Unification Wars. Remember, big war, unite Earth in the far future. While the other Space Marine legions, they kind of turned their noses up at leading normal troops, the Emperor's Children, they thought it was cool. They were okay with it. So even before they met their Primarch Fulgrim, they were just total perfectionists. They didn't just follow the Emperor's orders, they crushed everything he asked for, just going constantly above and beyond what was expected. They were just the overachievers of the early Space Marines, and they made sure everyone knew it, like that time at primary school when you get picked to take the register to the office and you get to leave the class and you were like, look at me, that's them. The Emperor's Children, they weren't just warriors. They were also his like go-to diplomats, his bodyguards for important missions. They were sometimes called his heralds, and they were just strutting into battle ceremonies with that register corridor pride to show off their special status. They painted their armour in this like rich imperial purple, decorated it with a cool thunderbolt and a sunburst, and they looked the part. They even earned more honour after this major event known as the Proximum Betrayal. During a surprise attack at a big imperial ceremony, the Emperor himself was nearly taken out by a deadly vortex weapon. It was quite dramatic, but the brave Marines, they stood their ground, defending him literally to the last man, and because of their sacrifice, the Emperor's Children, they were given the right to wear his personal symbol on their armour, which was a huge deal. It's like you've upgraded now to a prefect badge, but things kind of just keep going downhill from this point. So while transporting their precious gene seed, that was hard to say, precious gene seed. A gene seed is like special biological stuff that's needed to make new space Marines. It's very important. Something went horribly wrong. Why can I not talk today? Basically, a bunch of it was either lost, helpful, or the stuff that was stored back on Terra had actually been secretly tampered with by this group called the Selena Gene Cults, there we go, from the moon, just in case you thought the moon was a happy place. It's not. Anyway, they infected it with something called the blight, and this messed up the organs grown from the gene seed, and it started just spreading through the Legion. The Emperor's Children, they did act fast. They deployed healthy reserves, they removed infected Marines, and they even salvaged organs from their fallen brothers just to slow the damage. But even though they stopped the worst of it, the damage was kind of done. My chair's spinning. I can't reach the floor because I'm too short. So anyway, That's not your problem, that's mine. Unlike other legions that grew huge, like the Ultramarines, Imperial Fists and Lunar Wolves, who had about like 100,000 warriors, the Emperor's children, they were always small by comparison. At their peak, they only had like a few hundred Marines. They had the style and the skill, but fate it had other plans for them. After the Emperor found Fulgrim on the planet Chemos, he put him in charge of his old legion, the Emperor's children. And at that time, the legion, it was tiny. Like I mentioned, 200 Space Marines left at this point. When Fulgrim, he first met them, he gave them this really big, Braveheart level inspiring speech. And he told them that they were the Emperor's chosen, and their job was to spread his wisdom across the galaxy. After that, the Emperor, he officially gave them the name, the Emperor's children. Like I mentioned, happy families, right? No, wrong. Because they were so few in number, they were then teamed up with another legion called the Lunar Wolves. Now, this legion was led by Horus. Fulgrim and Horus, they ended up fighting side by side for almost 100 years, and they just became like bros, inseparable. But that friendship, it would eventually lead to some very bad things for the Imperium. Once they got more recruits from Chemos and Earth, the Emperor's children, they finally had like enough muscle to head out on their own. Fulgrim led the charge with the 28th Expedition Fleet, spreading the Emperor's rule and just smashing anyone who dared to say like, nope, not for me. He smashed them. Hulk smash. Go, go, go. Their big moment came when they sort of faced a weird alien species that basically wanted perfection just like them, which of course it wasn't going to cut it. So the Imperium thought it'd take like 10 years to beat this, but Fulgrim and his crew, why do I keep saying crew? They did it in 1 month. Just overachievers. Like that annoying guy at work who's always getting Employee of the Month. That was them. It did come at a cost though. Hundreds of Space Marines were either lost or wounded, and not long after, though, they were back in action. They teamed up with the Iron Hands to take on Diasporex. The Diasporex were like a roaming space fleet, kind of made up of humans and aliens who had teamed up and decided not to join the Imperium. So not exactly well received. They just wanted to do their own thing in peace, but the Emperor, he wasn't a fan of that. So the Imperium, including the Emperor's children and the Iron Hands, they showed up and put an end to their little space road trip, just permanently, I'll say less. When the Horus heresy kicked off, Fulgrim ran to Horus to talk some sense into him. He's like, bro, come on, like, listen to me. But instead of a heart-to-heart, Horus just whipped out his Uno reverse card and he twisted Fulgrim's obsession with perfection to turn him against the Emperor. It was like, pick your jaw up off the floor, please now. To be fair, Fulgrim, he did try to resist, but there was a catch. This fancy sword that he had picked up earlier from an alien temple was possessed by a demon of Slaanesh that had just been like whispering sweet, chaotic nothings into his brain the whole time. Not exactly the best wingman. Anyway, things went downhill fast. Fulgrim's fall to chaos, it didn't stop with him. It just spread like a really irritating group chat that you can't get away from. His top commanders, his squad leaders, and eventually almost the entire legion turned to Slaanesh, the chaos god of excess. Only a small group stayed loyal to the Emperor, led by a brave captain.